Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all. Look who's joined me. It's Patrick Van Straat, and importantly, it is Christopher Hamill'S final ever episode of... Sorry, mate.
I didn't get an important name.
It's important because it's Christopher Hamill'S last ever episode of Sunday Vibes. As you've been able to tell from the title, it's going to be slightly different to your usual Sunday Vibes this week. This is going to be a bit more of a personal episode, or reminiscent... Is that the word?
Yeah.
Reminiscing on, you know, what has been at Football Daily with Chris Hamill. Because how long have you been here?
7 years.
7 years, given most of your 20s to Football Daily and to you guys at home. So we asked you guys to send in some questions for Chris and us that are a little bit more personal on Twitter. But first and foremost, how do you feel about leaving? Let's just start there.
Mate,
Now you snaked us.
Out on the field, I genuinely feel like I've nothing more to give Football Daily.
Given your 20s, your health.
Yeah, precisely. Now, I'm going to enjoy this sort of nostalgia-fueled episode. I like to think that most of the time, any airtime we give is dedicated towards football, right, rather than us. We make it about the football, not ourselves. So I feel like we've earned the right here to be a little bit self-indulgent. Go back through the years, maybe touch upon some iconic, seminal stages of FD, and hopefully people at home enjoy it. Yeah, this won't all be about me because we have worked together day in, day out for the last 7 years. Like you guys have been with me every step of the way. So, intertwined.
And Zach behind the camera as well, been here for just a couple of months shy of that. Like, we've basically been together as a team, George too, for like the length of time that we were in secondary school.
That is mad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that is nuts.
Really
What's your first Football Daily memory?
Thought about it like that. Getting on the wrong train to get into FD from Rains Park when I was sleeping on my friend's floor.
I remember like the interview with you. I remember
the interview.
I remember being on the phone interview. It was like me. Were you in the room?
Yeah.
It was me, you, Bab,
and Danny.
And Danny Timms, who now works for the Premier League. Football Daily Talent Factory continues, but we'll go on to that later. But I remember being on the phone and you were like, yeah, New York Film School, and we were like, ooh, I'm ready.
Fancy.
This guy's a bit fancy.
I probably had no top on.
We know that now.
I was in the bath.
Yeah. But I remember us asking you like why you're a Celtic fan, and you used the phrase like family curse. And and then you kind of joined, and it's very quickly worked into a little kind of equilibrium, right? Where it was like, you were mostly kind of talent and like and running the team. I was writing the script, you were editing, and then over time it became, oh no, we're a three who are going to sort of do a bit of everything, or at least appear on things together. Yeah,
I do remember interviewing you very vividly, like us all coming away thinking, is he like New York Film School? Is that just a step too far for Football Daily? Is that a 3-man team at the time?
And then he turned
up
and we were like, no.
Stage interview with Bab. One of the
Please
segments
say it was the photos.
Of that interview was, can you name these 10 footballers?
I remember that.
On this like
but you know what, that was important,
paper.
because we interviewed loads of people who were like, yeah, really into my football, know my football. And this is early days of Football Daily when it was like 2 or 3 man team. So we were like proper grinding it out, making videos like every single day. And if you didn't know football, it was like a thankless task. And so many people lied and pretended to know football to try and get a job, that when you put the things in front of them, and even like a photo of Kenny Dalglish, they wouldn't have a clue who it is.
Do you know what still pisses me off to this day? That I got 9 out of 10 because I changed Ian Rush to John Aldridge.
I remember that.
And Bab was,
a bit of a howler.
And Bab was like, I'm actually impressed you know who John Aldridge is. And I was like, dag nabbit.
That's a bit of a howler.
I know, yeah, 9 out of 10.
What, because the moustache? I remember that vividly. I remember we had Chris's like kind of marks in front of us. We had his sats in front of us, and we were checking through them, and we were like, state of this.
No, but some people like literally were like, Ronaldo, who's this? Ronaldo.
Well, if it wasn't like a kind of player at the height of their powers in the Premier League at that point, people would have absolutely no idea. And obviously you had to be able to identify that stuff really quickly, because we worked at such a pace in those days, churn stuff out, because we were trying. EFD had just started. We had under 1,000 subs. We had under 600,000 on FD. That it was just
I distinctly remember it was about 490 something on FD, because
when you joined,
we were losing subs owing to a branded deal gone awry. Right.
Yeah, an understatement, a branded deal gone awry.
When I joined, you were also on holiday, so I didn't see you for like 2 weeks because the anticipation was building and building and building. But I remember coming in, seeing like this
Me?
Gawky, thin redhead in his like checkered top and his boat shoes, but then being immediately sort of impressed with your work ethic actually, because I got in because I had to move down from Leicester. I got in late afternoon, and we started editing a video, and we were like, it got to like 6-7 o'clock. Everyone else started leaving, and you were like, oh no, we've still got to finish this video. This has still got to go up tonight, regardless of how late we get it up. So my first day at FD, I actually did like 2 till 9, finishing this top 10.
Grim.
And then you were
That's
like,
right.
yeah, now we can go, guys. And I was like, okay, okay, that's how it's going to be, is it?
Get it up. Let's get it done.
Get it up. No, you didn't say that to me day one.
No, but it worked out quite well, didn't it? We've progressed fairly solidly through the years. We've got actually in front of us some of our favourite thumbnails that have been created over the years.
Well, I actually went on
because we've transitioned,
most viewed.
Brilliant.
And I thought,
Really?
and I sort of cherry picked some of the thumbnails that I thought were emblematic of our early stages.
I made
on
about
FD.
90% of these, I think.
You
Yeah.
love and still love making
Yeah.
thumbnails.
Do you know there's an art to making thumbnails? There is an art to making thumbnails.
No, there
And I've-
definitely is.
And I've had to hand it off on Football Daily, and I still feel like sometimes I'm always like trying to tweak it, I'll send like 100 amendments, and do you know what I mean? You just have that feeling of, I don't know, thumbnail has to be correct. I think that's first and foremost. And back in the days, like looking at these now, I'm like, oh lord.
But that was one of the. That was actually one of the things, though, that I think Chris and I think it's fair to say, like, really learnt from you, because everybody learnt stuff at Football Daily, but we were not kind of in YouTube. Like, we were not big like YouTube watchers. We didn't really understand like what played thumbnail wise with the audience. Whereas you always had your kind of finger on the pulse with that stuff. Unsurprisingly, you had the mindset of like a 15-year-old
15-year-old
football
boy,
fan
yeah.
who's like, I want a picture of Kaka and I want an explosion.
Yeah, which
Those
is
are the
exactly
only
what I
two
get.
things I care about.
But I mean, like this one, the paralysed to baptised Kaka
Iconic,
thumbnail, 10
yeah.
footballers who found God. Like, I remember really vividly thinking, I really remember very
The
vividly
implication
thinking,
being that like God healed his
God healed him,
paralysis.
yeah. I remember
Well done,
thinking
God.
that like this was around the time that I thought split screens are going to really start working for us. I remember smaller channels starting to do it, working for them, and like I remember typing in like surgical room for the background. Like if you look at the background behind a young Kaka, it's like a surgery. It's like a doctor's surgery, because obviously he was paralysed.
I
Was
still-
he?
Temporarily,
Or
I think,
temporarily,
yeah.
or he had
He was
a really
bedridden, yeah.
bad back, basically.
Yeah. I mean, you know, what you see on the thumbnail, fundamentally true, but what we've done is, you know, taken liberties with that, which is makes it an art form, right? I think I can still remember, like, your face, the whites of your eyes when you discovered that font with the cracks in.
Yeah.
It was like you'd found gold.
my
Fonts really excited you early
They
doors.
still do. They're key to
they-
the thumbnail process.
They do. No, but I've become very anal with thumbnails as well. There's got to be a good narrative on there.
Absolutely. I mean, the next one Season Wonders, Sensation to Salesman.
What a narrative.
I mean, that is just ideal,
Not for
isn't it?
Michael Johnson.
Yeah, poor Michael Johnson. But like the letting signs in the background, like montage of like to let, to rent signs in the background. Cursed Footballers. I don't think I made Cursed Footballers. I think that was someone else. But again, Michael
It's got a
Ballack.
George Wright quality to it.
I think
What
that
I
might have been
liked-
Halota.
What I
Interesting.
liked about this was the facial expression of Ramsey.
Yeah.
He really looks like he's smiting
I know,
down
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
a demon.
It really is. I like the next one, the Jamie Vardy By Day By Night one, just because I remember finding the sparks
Right.
and thinking like, oh look, if I can layer the sparks in between them, it really gives it like that 3D quality, like he's been working
Again,
in like a welding department.
finding the right facial expression. It looks like this was the sort of era where you found drop shadow as well, because that is heavy.
Yeah, I
Behind
think-
By
yeah,
Day and By Night.
really
yeah, that
true.
is significant.
Definitely. I mean, the Czech one feels classless. It now feels classless, so I would like to apologise for that one, although I don't recall making it.
This
It
is
does seem like something I've done. I would
we'll
have done.
do anything for views stage. Holy shit, we're getting traction. We're gaining traction. Let's keep this
That
gravy
is
train
so
going.
classless though, lifeless to legend, because he was like in a bad way as well. So that is that I really
Yeah, but he
can
was
only
fine by
apologise.
the point you made that at least.
Yeah, that
You know,
thankful,
it wasn't like his health was in doubt.
Yeah, he'd made a full recovery
Yeah,
by that stage.
it wasn't in the like 24 hours in between.
He was completely fine. He was at Arsenal by that point.
Whereas Kiko Makeda, when we said Third Wonder Kids with a McDonald's, was probably still playing out in Italy or something.
Panathinaikos or something.
I
yeah.
know.
But at least nobody would confuse that thumbnail for reality.
What do you mean?
Given his colossal
No,
hand.
that's perspective, mate. He's holding it towards the camera.
His hand's so big.
He's holding it towards the camera, mate. That's perspective.
It's honestly
Look at
enormous.
the red. Like the McDonald's perfectly suits Manchester United. Whoever's done that has got the hex code just spot on.
And drunk ref also like does.
That's good.
It's good, but it also does seem like it's quite. If that referee saw that image, probably would sue us now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's like staggering backwards with the fine.
Joke would have been on him though. We had absolutely no money at that time, so
Yeah,
it wouldn't. He could have sued us for anything. It
Because
wouldn't have
like,
mattered.
although
What
it's
do you
drunk
want?
ref,
The rev from that video?
Yeah, although it's
Help
like,
yourself.
An office in a state of disrepair.
like whether it was me or not, I'm not sure, but I must have just searched because I think I did one with
Plausible
money.
deniability from you and all these.
yeah,
really
yeah.
good. Really
Exactly.
good.
Yeah, question mark, exclamation mark.
And then
There you go.
allergic to grass with Mario, who of course was allergic to grass, but then I don't think had the eye swelling like that in real life.
This is a real FD hallmark. The bruising. of the
1.7
face.
million views though. Talk to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, these thumbs are like nowadays you see these are like the first germination of the thumbs you, probably see where it's
like
like
hieroglyphics.
where the balls go. No, yeah, this is the
This is like
hieroglyphics.
FD, like YouTube's hieroglyphics.
Yeah, this is like the first germination of now you see you'll never seen a goal like this and the ball's going like that or
Yeah.
like you can't believe what happened on the football pitch and the plane crashed into the middle.
Or
of
there's
it.
like Messi walking away and there's like a ref like decapitated in the background
yeah,
or something.
this is the germination.
This is YouTube heritage.
Yeah, this is
for sure.
This is YouTube
Yeah,
heritage.
you're right. This is absolutely like the cave paintings.
Yeah, absolutely.
YouTube.
I would love to see like the title of our first ever Sunday Vibes. Like, how do we thumbnail and title that? Because when we first did Sunday Vibes,
God,
do you remember
only
doing
knows.
Sunday Vibes the first time?
Yeah, we shot it against the window because our lights had broken, so we didn't have enough like soft boxes to adequately light us facing the bomb,
Yeah.
which became the shot.
Yeah.
Infamously, because you could see the bomb's
But
arse
were we not
crack
just
every
backlit?
episode. Yeah,
Shadows.
horrendously.
Yeah.
It looked like we'd found God. It looked like we'd gone full caca. But
And the sound always sucked.
yeah, and we had that broadcast camera that was probably 20 years old at that point that ran off flashcards that were like that big, and we had to put them in that adapter
yeah.
and put them in the computer, and it took hours to copy off. Each file was like 60, 70 gig. Yeah.
I totally forgot about that. Did we have one catch? Only one
We
camera,
didn't
wasn't
put
it?
ourselves on the thumbnails for Sunday Vibes for a long time. Again, going back to like
Yeah.
we did, to our credit, make it about the football, not about us. I can't.
Though in those days it was easy wins, right? Like in those days you could just put like Messi on a thumb
Pog
and that
grabbed
would
it.
kind of do.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like you put Messi on a thumb, it's like, well, what else have you got for me? Like it felt like that was it. That was still in a transitional period where the football conversation was moving away from having been kind of people talking about like what happened on Match of the Day into overall the football conversation being driven by blogs and what was happening on Twitter and YouTube. And so at that stage it still felt like, yeah, we can just put like Pogba on a thumb, we can put like Zlatan on a thumb, and that will get us like
But,
500k.
yeah, at that stage,
It was more difficult.
people
now.
didn't have like breaking news. The window for breaking news is probably still 12, 24 hours
Yeah, you
rather
could
than
do it
half
way
an hour,
longer.
an hour.
Well, it was-
so
yeah.
like Pogba in a Barcelona shirt, people would still be like, what?
Remember that
Yeah.
Griezmann one I made, the
Yeah.
Man United shirt?
It tells you so much that like in those days transfer talk was such a huge driver of like views and people coming to the channel, and now we can transfer talk because people already know, people are ahead of it, as soon as we've made a video it's kind of old.
Yeah.
On that subject.
I mean, yeah, on that subject, we have got a show graveyard list here. We thought we'd go back through some of the shows that were launched during our time together as a trio and have subsequently hit the can.
So this is like when you go down through like the layers of rock and it's like the Romans and then you get
Yeah.
to like the dinosaurs
Shout out-
and then below that is FFO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you
The Earth's core.
if you enjoyed any of these shows, let us know what your favourite one that we canned is, because there are some quality ones in here. I mean, Hot Takes went.
I think Hot
Takes-
Takes.
Hot Takes was good.
Hot
Yeah.
Takes has been stolen by everybody subsequently. Like everybody has stolen that, and we
We
stole that off
we-
Fantasy Fantano.
And Anthony
yeah.
Fantano put us on his
Yeah.
Instagram page
Yeah.
where
It was like these football boys. yeah.
Yeah.
and like just dollar sign.
Yeah,
Did not sue us.
We stole it from
thankfully.
Anthony Fantano, but then every football page has subsequently taken Hot Takes and like run with it.
Yeah, I think Hot Takes was good. What was the death knell for Hot Takes was that people were starting. People didn't really feel comfortable running with an opinion that was not genuine, right?
Yeah.
It got to a point where we were being disingenuous, and we were like, we don't want to be one of those fan channels that just
Harry Kane's rubbish sort of vibes,
chat
yeah.
for views. So we sort of phased it out. Then we became bi-weekly, monthly, and then we were like, there's no more opinions that we hold dear to us that would shock you that like left.
Yeah, we just
In
speak
our
about
Arsenal.
football so much, it just doesn't happen, does it? Although some of the editing on Hot Takes was always fantastic, wasn't it?
Class.
Like I feel like Hot Takes and Stat Wars were like the two births of like the comedic edit on our pages anyway, weren't they? The 12th Man.
Yeah, that
What was that? Fantasy
What the
football.
hell was that?
Fantasy football, yeah.
Was that when we had
Sky
our fantasy
Fantasy
football set? We had it like built, didn't we? Or like
yeah.
we had a brick wall like wallpapered.
Well, year one, we drove 4,000 or 5,000 sign-ups on Sky. It wasn't Sky Bet, it was Sky Fantasy Football. It was just Sky's Fantasy Football, and they were like, wow, that's decent. I remember Draft Fantasy Football, the American company, phoning me after that and being like, do you think you could drive 5,000 subscribers to us? And we're like, no, we're owned by Sky now.
Yeah.
The 12th Man, we had like a rotating guest as well, didn't we?
Did we? Who was that?
Yeah, well,
Who was on it?
a rotating cast of like Makola,
Oh,
Rory.
really?
Yeah, we had, it was shot in that third floor studio. Do you remember for a little bit
Where
where it
I'm
was
so
against,
glad you don't remember this either.
flat
I do
wall.
not remember
it was
a second
against
of
the
this.
flat wall where there was two like wooden plinths and we put shit on it and then we moved it downstairs for the second series.
I'm sure did we not put wallpaper on it that had a brick effect?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, that's the early days of that, and that was like us picking our team, going through how many like points players had got us each week. It was like one of our early sponsored shows that we thought yeah, we've hit the big time.
Football face-off.
Oy.
Wow.
Yeah, two blokes stood behind.
Less so the better.
What did you call those things? Music.
It was a
sheet
music
holders.
stand, yeah.
Music
It's just a
stand,
music
just
stand.
shouting nonsense at each other.
But then
30 seconds.
the music stands broke, and we used like crates, bins,
Oh
like
my God, it was so
football
bad.
shirts to balance
The funniest
things
thing
on.
I can remember about that is that the green screen we used to have in there was like just literally a piece of like green
Felt.
felt. And whenever there was like a football daily or party and everybody got too drunk, it would just get like ruined. There's like drink stains on
Yeah,
it.
keying
just, like,
that fucker out was a nightmare.
yeah, it was an absolute disaster. And because of FFA, you had to have 3 people. It was only about 6 foot wide.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, yeah, no, I believe that Harry Kane's the best striker in the world. It was just like ridiculous.
This was during a period as well where I seem to recall we started getting people sending us links to like famous birthdays or like, you know, those kind of websites where it's like who dated whom or whatever, and it would say like Joe Tomlinson has a net worth of between $2 and $4 million, and it was just like all you need to do to prove that's not true is just like tilt down and show what we're using as a stand on FFO.
Yeah.
Which, as Chris said, was like
Great.
debris that we
FFO
found
was
around
like
the
the
office.
epitome of, you know, the whole duck looking or swan looking elegant on top of the wall
Yeah.
and like peddling like f*** underneath. Yeah.
Everything you need to know. I think that was a very short-lived Explain,
It must have been-
effectively, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was the
Precursor to Explain.
Precursor,
Very,
yeah.
very short-lived. Internet Reacts was a classic. This was a banger. This was my most hated strand
Yeah,
that
for
I used
sure.
to make, for sure, because it was like you would have to do it to any big breaking news, any football game that was massive. You would have to get it done in about 20 minutes, and that involved downloading maybe 30 tweets and like funny gifs and memes, uploading them, like
The
putting them
production
into Premiere.
values
The
were
production was
disgusting,
disgusting, literally. Stick it into Premiere, stick a transition, stick a handle, and then upload it.
backing track off like, what was it, SoundCloud
Yeah.
or Audio Network. And
You'd have that ready to go.
you'd have the little...
Yeah. And it'd be like the internet
Impact
reacts
push.
to Man United 8, Arsenal 2. like, and they'd always do well, man. And then that transition to FD reacts, where we'd all shoot ourselves on our phone and then send it to the editor.
Oh,
and he'd
God,
just
yeah.
quickly chop them together and then
I
upload
don't think
it.
that lasted very long.
No, it didn't. FTFC, that was a journey.
FTFC
A short
became a
one.
separate channel. We tried to tap into the whole football craze, quickly realised wasn't really for us, and probably that there wasn't a whole lot of legs in it.
Didn't have much. We kind of saw early doors. They didn't have an awful lot of longevity outside of hashtag. I think.
Yeah.
But obviously Spencer managed to create a sort of ultimate vehicle to drive a brand there. But like everybody else was trying to replicate hashtag, but just doing a crap version basically. So we just quite quickly realised that it's not very
And
feasible
it was
for us.
so labour intensive for the
Yeah.
results that we got, and it compared to what we could do if we just stayed in the office for the 4, 5, 6 hours it took to go out and shoot something.
For 11 people as well.
Yeah, it never made it worth it, did it?
The Journeyman.
Although we did get some nice kits out of it.
Yeah,
we had a little collaboration with
You're wearing one now?
We had a little collaboration with 442. They pay for the kits.
Yeah, I still got that kit somewhere.
Luke Colota designed the
tracksuit top as well.
The badge. We got tracksuit tops out of it. We got some training sessions out of it where Adam Templeman, shout out Temps, our old channel manager, still on social right now. Couldn't run in a straight line, which was very funny. Those episodes are still on FD
The Journeyman. That was McCubbin and James Wayne.
Yeah. Might be coming back in vertical form.
You never know. That might actually make a return.
That was good.
That was really good. That was much more recent. That was much more recent, and I actually thought that was very, very good. Big Fat Quiz of the Year. We used to do once a year, didn't we? That was very funny.
Christmas special.
Usually either semi-drunk or totally drunk.
You look back at some of them now, 5 or 6 years ago, like in the studio when Sky first took over, so maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and the production values were great, and I don't really know what happened since. That was like, the concept was there, the execution was there, it had done 200,000 views, and then obviously COVID happened, and we just never picked it up after, which is
sadly
a real shame.
COVID did kill that, didn't it? Football Pyramid, one of Dukes.
Got us through lockdown.
Great. And one-on-one.
Yeah.
So any of those?
What about the other? What was it called? Football 101 or something? You know, the 101 facts.
Oh, that was Kieran Carlin.
That was a separate channel, and that was the channel that I was like
90
producing.
plus 1 facts.
90 plus 1 facts, and it was Kieran Carlin, one-man band, doing it, who has since gone on to great
I think
things.
we need to talk about this. The FD Talent Factory.
Because didn't Will and E call it the La Masia of
the La Masia of YouTube? Honestly, I think actually it's quite interesting because a lot of people won't realise this, but like, when you look at the people that have worked at Football Daily, even if you go back to the early days, so you look at Lawrence McKenna, you look at
first video I was on was with Lawrence
you look at Adam Boltwood, who is now, what's Adam Boltwood doing now?
Premier League.
Works for the Premier League. Danny Timms works for the Premier League.
Roman Kemp,
obviously Capital One. You've got you going to the Athletic. You've got, who else has subsequently left? Kieran Carlin, who's obviously a YouTuber in his own right now.
Olivia's at Sky.
Pete
Dorman went off to Sport Bible.
Then you've got like a lot of the editors behind the scenes, like Jamie McCulloch and stuff who've worked on Football Daily, gone on to work for Will and E.
Yeah. More the people. We haven't lost an awful lot of staff, have we?
A
lot of people
certainly not for a while.
And
have been here for the long
haul. Gone to a really
but now you look
very,
how
very
like
good
Zach
position.
is the face of Chelsea on YouTube, and he's got Sam in there as well. Bit of nepotism. You've got Doogie appearing on
Well, it means giving a leg up to a relative. It's cronyism is what it means.
Cronyism. You've got Doogie appearing on SSN now.
Yeah.
You're host of a linear show on Saturdays on Sky.
It's wild.
So it is pretty wild.
La Masia, mate.
The whole transition, yeah.
FD Masia.
Who else have we forgotten? I don't want to disservice.
Yeah, I don't want to either, but we definitely would have forgotten some people that have gone on to do ridiculous things and ridiculous companies. Let's get some questions though, because the guys have been sending in questions all week for you, Hamster. We will also chip in, me and Pat, so it's not just Chris Hamill ranting for 10 minutes. What's the biggest difference between your first day at FD and your last day at FD? Hashtag thank you Hamill. Get out of his arse, Jamie, mate.
You can stay.
The hashtag, man. Hashtag thank you.
Yeah.
like you've died.
Yeah.
Like you built the club and now you're dead.
Yeah. Go on. What's the biggest difference?
I mean, we touched upon the first day earlier, didn't we? I came in, we were a guerrilla outfit. Going into Sky now feels somewhat like it's still bizarre, isn't it? Rocking up to the Osterley campus, how grandiose it is, and you're there at the biggest sport broadcaster in the UK, and sometimes it's felt like we've been a little bit separate from day-to-day operations there, but we're still part of a reputable, internationally known broadcaster, which is still surreal. So even just like the physical experience of going to work couldn't contrast anymore, could it? Turning up
to the original Football Daily
some
office.
Random office near Oxford Circus where there was like mould on the ceiling, and when it rained we had to put a bucket out on the floor.
Take me back, man.
McCubbin was like concerned that sitting next to the mould for so long was affecting his lungs.
Rotating in and out of the mould
100%
seat.
was.
Yeah.
100% was.
Rotating in and out of the mould seat.
I'm just, turning up and someone had left the sink on from a Halloween party the night before.
Throwing a bottle out the window
Yeah,
and
and-
smashed somebody else's window.
and flooded the
Somebody
whole
did that.
place.
Who did
and-
that? Wasn't me, by the way, just for now.
No,
So I
there was
guess like
nobody
the working environment. I remember turning up one day and like Tomlinson was just throwing pencils into the ceiling, and I looked up and there was like 19 pencils in the ceiling, and I was like,
Who hasn't done that, though?
he's been doing this for like an hour.
Yeah.
And it had done £0 worth of damage.
Yeah,
Like,
£0.
nothing could have been done to make that.
But that has
building
germinations
worth
of ideas, just
Yeah,
totally,
Get a title.
big time. Do you not think it's wild that back in those days, like obviously you've seen the thumbs that we used to put together then, but now anytime anyone is referring to a video about football on Twitter, you click on the video and what's in the top corner, it's the Football Daily logo. Like, that is insane to me.
Shout out to the social team.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
That is
brand-wise,
absolutely wild.
Yeah.
The
I
reach of
agree.
it is just everywhere. Like people who you assume would never have seen our channel or never have heard of it are like retweeting what is technically our content. That's kind of crazy to me.
Yeah, the transition from like a plucky underdog publisher to a brand that people actually know it's been satisfying to kind of complete that journey for sure. That kind of ties in with this. What about you boys? Is there any other biggest differences that you've
I think
clocked?
professionalism. I know that we joke about being less professional now, but certainly when we started, it was like it was the Wild West YouTube, really, wasn't it? And how you shoot things and like what you'd be able to say on camera and stuff like that. Now it definitely is far more professional. Like
Yeah, views would almost justify anything back then.
yeah, exactly. You could pretty much say and do what you wanted without any sort of recrimination. And now it's kind of much more like we're much more considerate in what we're saying. We're much more. We try and back up everything we say with either statistics or a reasoned point. Back in the day, it would sometimes just be like, bloody hell, Adebayor's crap, innit? And it's just like, is he?
It's like a polite version.
Based on what, and that's very polite. Like, I think the professionalism is much better now.
No way.
Honestly, the fact that back then, I know Joe is, as you said before, like Joe's presenting his own show on Sky. Now just seeing people kind of go out and be respected for the quality of their work, and also just the way as well that people would turn up to FD, and I'd still say they were more knowledgeable than the average football fan, but after a few months you could ask people on our team about basically any team in Europe's top 5 leagues and they'd have something to say about them. Something to say about their players or their manager or whatever. It was kind of staggering that would, as a sort of finishing school for football knowledge, that was kind of remarkable.
And that was, down to the discipline of getting out day-to-day content as well, wasn't it? It's just like we had to have a new listicle or something else go out every day, so you have to unearth this new knowledge. I would also say just people's appearance. Like people can now afford haircuts, they can now afford respectable garms. I think when we first got there, people were not being paid an awful lot. We were getting a haircut at Toppers.
Yeah. £6 a haircut.
Yeah.
Bang.
And Doogie was wearing Sambas back then, and they were super uncool. But now he's been wearing them so long that Sambas are now like
Cool
again.
Are you saying Doogie's made Sambas cool?
Basically, yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
There's no other explanation
No.
for it. If I see like Kim Kardashian wearing Sambas, then I think, well, I know where this originates.
If we had to have on the whole apparel theme, if we had an FD museum, what one piece of apparel would you put in there that you associated with
Your
like
rustling
one another?
trousers.
My rustling trousers that I got for free from Puma. They sounded like bin bags.
My boat shoes.
Your boat shoes. I was about to say your
Your
brown
boat
boat shoes.
shoes.
100%.
100%.
I can almost.
I can smell
I
them.
can almost smell them. Yeah. Yeah.
I can absolutely smell them. What
Zach's
about
old
you?
glasses,
Yeah, Zach's old glasses.
pre-glow up Jellab.
What about Van Straten? Do you know what?
There we go.
I wouldn't even take an item of clothing for Van Straten. I would take the period when he had the beard that was about this. and I
Yeah,
would
that
just,
was a big old bushy
do you
beard.
remember when
What,
he used to
just
have,
like a bag of hair.
Yeah, no, I would recreate the beard. Like it was so big at one stage.
That was
it was literally down to like
2018.
here at
That was
one
5
stage.
years ago. Yeah, it was real Hasidic.
Yeah, you went full caveman.
Yeah, I think I would
that
go
was a
for
good
that
time.
one. I think one of Doogie's like really oversized shirts.
No, that blue one that
I
he
think
wore
the
on
Inter
his first EFD top 10, at blue checkered one for sure, and he had blue chinos on as well. The
Great.
man looked like just a giant condom.
Nice. Next one. Which was your favourite place you visited at FD? That's from Aniket. And he goes on to say, and why is it Goa? Was it Goa?
I haven't given this like serious thought. Goa was great, but it was a whirlwind, wasn't it? We were only there for 3 days. That was an awful long way to go. Just an 11-hour flight. Like we were with the overarching aim
was
of
amazing,
like
though.
making content. We told Matt Hyman, who owned Football Daily at the time, that there was an outside chance of the brand Kingfisher. We'd meet them out there. Like we'd try and get sponsorship with them, who are a beer brand. That's kind of why he funded our trip.
That.
Yeah. Well, I really wanted to go as well, so a bit of skullduggery there. But yeah, 3 days. The club gave us like the itinerary when we landed, didn't they?
It was on Real Access though.
Yeah, I mean they were great. The hospitality was unreal. The food was unreal. Like they took us surfing one morning, didn't they? And they took us to a game, and
it was the Festival of Colour, wasn't it? What's it called? Is it
Holly?
Yeah. And at the like stadium, it was like wow, it was really good.
But I think it was like Goa is the only state in India that's declared football as like its state sport. So it made it super accessible and enjoyable for us. It did feel like maybe a lot like like deep India, or culturally it wasn't like shocking for us. I can't remember anything where I like felt like I was learning something new. It's because the Portuguese influence out there is like pretty substantial, so it felt like a really accessible place and a really fun place.
I think our Barcelona trip was pretty good. I mean, to say that we got to play at La Masia, and also we got to watch Lionel Messi score a hat-trick at the Nou Camp against the Pep Guardiola Barcelona side.
The MSN Barcelona, and we had insane seats.
Was it the MSN Barcelona?
Oh, were you? God. I did feel like I was a little bit too to fully like remember that.
We were 3 seats in front of Eric Abidal, who'd we'd interviewed during the day, and we were about 4 seats back from the dugout, whereas like
it's crazy.
Who was it? Pep versus who was in charge of
Enrique, I think maybe.
Yeah,
we went with Allianz, didn't we? And they really looked at, and that was like a
good
connect through you from about 2 years prior. One of your mates worked there, and that's how we got the whole like Bayern Munich trip sorted originally when you interviewed Ian Robin and I interviewed Julian Green. Shout out to him, whatever he's doing now. And we did
live stream of
with Thomas Muller. That was the year after though. I think that's when we actually returned because we did a half decent job. But the Barcelona thing was
sick. Yeah,
was crazy. Russia.
Russia was alright, but it was a bit like sanitized, wasn't it?
There was a feeling we were only shown the best parts for sure.
Yeah, because I think we were like, it was for the Confederations Cup, which is the tournament before the preludes. I actually don't think it exists anymore. I think they've canned it from this summer onwards, but it used to prelude the World Cup. The year before they would put it on, and it would be effectively a trial event for the World Cup, so they could see the ticketing systems, they could see how people would travel amongst the country, and we basically went out for that. And it was because we went out with, who did we go out with? I can't remember, but effectively we were shown the good parts of Russia very much.
Yeah, well, we went to Moscow and then we went to Sochi, which was like two of the bougier cities, right?
Yeah.
And to be fair, we were given full creative control, and we never gave them like any amends.
We did like a Sunday Vibes, didn't we?
Yeah, so it wasn't like they we surrendered control of the editorial, but there was definitely a feeling of like we're being shown a good time.
Yeah. Next one, funnest experience you had at Football Daily with the Football Daily team?
I mean, we've just chalked off quite a few.
Yeah, we have actually.
Barcelona was really fun, and I still think I'm probably the only person to play at La Masia in what
you forgot your shoes, didn't
Doc
you?
Martens.
Imagine going to La Masia.
I was filming and I was carrying like 3 or 4 bags of stuff, and the guy there was like, "Have you brought your football kit?" And I was like, "No, I bought 4 cameras." And he was like, "Oh, God's sake!" And I was like, "Is this guy for real?" And so he ended up fetching me some like training stuff, but then I was like cutting about in Doc Martens.
On La Masia with Doc Martens. What's the prediction you're most proud of during a time at Football Daily? You got one, Pat?
No. Do you remember anything
I remember
you
the
predicted?
prediction I'm least proud of.
Okay.
Where I said that Gabriel Jesus will be better than Kylian Mbappe.
I just don't think that's that bad.
I think it's subsequently proven to be quite bad.
Yeah, but I mean, like, it's not like you didn't say it just for clicks. You weren't saying it to be a knob.
No,
and Gabriel Jesus wasn't a bust.
Thing.
He was really good.
That's the worst thing. I wasn't saying it just for clicks. I was actually saying it because I genuinely believed it. Pat and Aubameyang, Zach's holding up behind the camera. What was that one?
best shout.
Oh,
Right.
what? When I said we shouldn't give him the new contract? Yeah, but I feel like that was just common sense and just like our fans. I mean, it's not hard to look sensible when you're competing against the larger Arsenal fan base.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have anything beyond that. You must have something.
Maybe on some like How to Fix podcast, do you remember any of your early recommendations?
Wout Weghorst?
Wout Weghorst, yeah. I remember suggesting Bruno Fernandes for Spurs when he was at Sporting, and not that I
as an Ericsson backup.
Yeah, not that I endorsed the deal now, but I remember when Cucurella was at Eibar saying like, I think he's a decent left back, and now he's gone for a world record fee, and I completely hated the move. But I think some of those I think people are looking for Moneyball shouts here, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they were more evident in our early podcast when we actually gave ourselves the time to sit down for a day, which doesn't often happen even to this day. And actually reset, go through all the various websites.
Just to go back to what's the funniest experience you've had at Football Daily. On the one of my funniest experiences at Football Daily was on the podcast when Doogie said that he shit himself on top of that mountain.
Oh my god!
Honestly, if we can find the clip, we're gonna play it now.
So I shot myself attempting to scale Mount Kilimanjaro.
I mean, how do you come back in from a clip like that? We're just going to do it. But I've got some notes down here, and I don't really know what this relates to in terms of the questions you've asked already. But do you remember the first sort of Sky collaborations that we were doing, where you did a swimming challenge against an Olympic swimmer?
Henry O'Connor, and I nearly drowned.
You did a tennis challenge against...
it was against
Greg Rosetsky.
Oh yeah, I also did Greg Rosetsky. I also did one against Andy Murray's brother, Jamie Murray. But yeah, Greg Rosetsky, who was great, really good value. Got seriously involved in it, and like if you did those videos now with like little challenges and did them slightly higher end, I think they would do really well on YouTube. But back then we were just like one cameraman, just like.
And you as like a big cricket fan as well. You got to meet Shane Warne.
That was an ultimate one actually. Yeah. The hug with Shane Warne, and actually one of my favourite moments of Football Daily when Nasser Hussain turned around to you. What did he say?
Battered me.
He was just like useless, absolutely.
No, he thought it was me. He thought I just bowled the ball that Chris had, and he like went in on me, and I was like, it wasn't even me. Like,
he literally loses the plot. And
it's unbelievable.
He was like that straight away.
Absolutely losing his mind.
He was like that straight away.
Yeah,
really competitive.
But Shane Warne,
he was lovely.
Rest in peace, man. What a legend.
Like really kind of understated through that video, wasn't it? As well, didn't try and steal the spotlight, did he? Despite the fact he was like a sporting icon.
Yeah,
he was like, who are these idiots?
Yeah,
but those are early Sky collaborations. I think
Henri and Quinn.
Henri,
that felt like we were really getting somewhere with those collaborations, right?
Yeah, that was when Dave Jackson was just like cacking himself because he was in the same room as Henri, and he was like
the Jose Mourinho collaboration as well.
Yeah,
Carragher
Redknapp.
Yeah,
like just thinking, Dave appeared when there was a big name on the channel, Jackson, and somehow worm his way into the lineup, wouldn't they? The Henri quiz, just like those early kind of things that you got to do with your club felt special when you did them for the first time. So like the Henri Arsenal, I remember you scoring a goal at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
You got invited to a match through...
Great goal. One of the best goals I've ever scored. Dribble from the halfway line.
And I got to interview Scott Brown for New Balance.
Yeah, we've actually... I was on Arsenal's YouTube channel as well. I used to go in and do that. But I remember you going up to Paradise or whatever.
Yeah, and it meant a lot. Just like felt like affirmation, didn't it? It felt like you could kind of come full circle a little bit working with the club you support.
Yeah, definitely.
And now Zach owns part of Chelsea.
Yeah. Now he's a shareholder.
I think he got 3% of Chelsea.
Absolutely.
Something like that.
The Michael Jordan effect. Okay, should we do some quick fires? Do you want to do these last couple? We've got a couple. We're going about 40 minutes.
About 3 hours?
We're going about 40 minutes. So let's just do these as quick fires. Sieve or a kill? What do you envision your career being like 10 years from now?
I guess, is this clearer for you? Because you kind of know more so than me about what you want to be, which is presenting, right?
Well, yeah, I would just like to continue doing presenting, producing behind the scenes. I don't really think about 10 years in the future. I don't know, that sounds like a long way away. I can barely think what I'm doing a week in advance, let alone 10 years in the future. I think planning that long ahead is
what is the
furthest is a dangerous game. I don't know, 6 months? I think to plan too far into the future is a dangerous game, like especially in digital media when things change so quickly. You've got to be too adaptable to do stuff like that.
But if your plan's not changed, since you've become a regular on TV, has that not helped kind of sharpen your focus? Do you think I want to remain on TV or do more TV, or has it made you think that?
I don't know. I don't necessarily think so. I think if you were just to go down one route, then you end up pigeonholing yourself, which is always dangerous in social media, I think. So I don't think you can think 10 years from where you are now. I mean, what are you going to be doing at the Athletic in 10 years?
I don't know. I would like to think that at some point I am going to be making like long form content,
documentaries.
Yeah, that's the only kind of vague thing I've ever placed on the horizon.
That's been there for you for a long time.
And I've tried that at Football Daily a few times. You know, like one of our own with Hamza Chowdhury. I thought, no budget, 2-week turnaround time. We've sorted the access ourselves. I thought that would sort of act as a platform to take that on, other long form ambitions on, but it never really came to fruition. And lockdown happened again, and we just came out of lockdown, and it felt like we're starting again in many ways, shapes and form. Yeah. What about yourself? Because you've just finished your course, right? Your diploma.
I qualified last year, but yeah, like I qualified as a therapist. So yeah, I was seeing NHS clients, like doing therapy with NHS clients. So I imagine I'll be working as a therapist. Like that's the plan.
A football therapist, just people will be coming to you going, I hate my club.
Well, there's one guy.
Again, you're a Tottenham fan. There's nothing to do.
There's one guy who works as a therapist. There's a guy called Gary Bloom who works as a therapist with Oxford United. But that's kind of like an overlooked thing in football, to be honest. But I don't think I'll be in football. I think, in 10 years' time, my daughter will be knocking on the door of 12. I'll be in my 40s, in my mid-40s.
So wild, isn't it?
And yeah, hopefully I'll just be working as a therapist, because that was always the plan for me.
Did you think you'd be in football this long?
No, not at all. But
I'll still be here.
But I think qualifying as a therapist was like my first step out of football, I'd say.
Okay, there you go. Let's do some more quick fires then. What was your biggest regret with regards to a video or series that almost happened and you wanted to do, but it fell through?
I'll just mention one of our own, haven't I? We had Todd Cantwell lined up for episode 2 as well, when he was sort of flying as a Norwich boy, which is obviously not the case now. He plays for Rangers, having been frozen out of the team after a terrible loan spell at Bournemouth. So I thought that was just going to, we hit the 50k barrier with the Hamza thing. I thought, brilliant, that's going to give me the leverage, the bandwidth to do more of this stuff, and it didn't. And then we did Behind the Headlines, that series as well, and that did really well.
So good, that was
but that, again, we found it really hard to get season 2 commissioned, didn't we? So I think every time we tried to push the bar up, editorially speaking, there was resistance. There was a sense you've kind of hit your ceiling.
Yeah,
and
budget
then,
always killed us.
Yeah, but then so you're going to have to go back to that weekly stuff that you know and do really well.
What team other than Rangers have you come to really dislike when covering Football Daily?
Go on. Is there a team that you just can't bring yourself to
Be
talk
honest now, because you're leaving.
No,
be
but
honest.
you know this, I think, probably about me now. I don't have loads of hot takes. I tend to be quite balanced. We very rarely talk about Celtic, which is my specialist subject. I end up talking about Arsenal, Man United an awful lot, and I am quite indifferent or objective, I would say. So I guess towards the end of EFD, I kind of, when I was presenting content on the club or ERU or whatever, I kind of resented pretending I knew about Hoffenheim, or that I'd watched them any longer than the 3-minute highlight package, that morning, because it felt like we're being disingenuous, didn't it?
Yeah.
But so that they're the only times.
Mine's PSG.
Yeah.
PSG, mate. Honestly, I just
so boring.
Yeah, PSG, and I'll be honest with you, Barcelona to a level.
Yeah.
And that's mainly because of the fan base.
As much as we talk about Arsenal fans, United fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, the worst fans in the world are Barcelona and Real Madrid fans, by far. They are the most entitled, the most immune to reason. Yeah. They just cannot handle it.
How have you gauged this? Run-ins with people on Twitter?
Yeah. Whenever you could say a totally reasonable take about Barcelona, and obviously they are probably the biggest team in world football alongside Madrid. These are the 2 biggest teams in world football, and it's just reams of abuse. You can't escape Barcelona fans or Real Madrid fans' opinions. Even if you're not talking about Barcelona or Real Madrid, they somehow manage to bring it back to Barcelona or Real Madrid. So I would say Barcelona, Real Madrid, and PSG.
What about English clubs?
Do you know what? I think maybe because maybe because I have developed more reasoned takes over the years with regards to English clubs, I feel like I don't really hate anyone that much.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we've moved away as a channel from being like really clickbaity, like he is crap, like they are crap. So
sensationalist.
So I don't really.
Maybe Tottenham, because
like Tottenham.
Tottenham have just always been, for our 7 years, that in-between club that we've kind of, under Pochettino, back to go on to bigger things, haven't delivered. Under Conte, back to deliver silverware. And Mourinho, didn't happen. And then there was like a period on the podcast where I'd just be like, maybe this player isn't good enough for a top club, but they're better than the chasing pack, so I'll lump them at Tottenham. And I just think Tottenham became the easy answer for an awful lot of things. And then I was just like, maybe I should stop doing that.
Yeah. All right. Let's finish with this one, because this is a question I certainly get asked all the time. I imagine you two do as well. What advice to younger people would you give to take a similar career path to yours? Now, I feel like I get that's probably the most DM'd question I get, like emailed question I get.
And what do you normally say?
I always say it's just difficult, isn't it? It's like, I feel like I'm very lucky to have got into the position I'm in within the football industry, but I kind of give the stock answer of, do your own stuff, like build your own brand before you try and do anything else. Like you've got to become recognisable for something yourself that's different to what everybody else is doing.
I think you saying that though, caveating it with luck, is quite responsible, because a lot of people, one
so
prominent presenter springs to mind who's always on LinkedIn, makes out like you're in full control of your destiny in that regard. When actually no, it does require a lot of luck. And saying that,
it's 80% luck, I think.
Yeah, like
it's harder than saying, well, work hard, graft like I did.
And somebody saying like, how do I end up where you are? You're like, I don't really know how we ended up where we are. Like, doesn't all this show that it's like it was trial and error and mistakes and fortune and other people, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
I think we were given the space to get a lot wrong as well.
Hard work.
But we gave ourselves that space.
Hard work is a big factor. Like, let's have it right. Back in the day, we would come in at 8 and go home at 10 p.m. some days. Like
1.5 scripts.
Yeah,
a day.
we'd be working like 60 nowadays. Sometimes.
Do you remember the first scout report? Because we had really old machines and I'd done it on After Effects, and it was that stupid thing that bounced around the screen. And me and Joe were waiting till like 3 o'clock in the morning for the first scout report ever to export, and we were just looking at this percentage thing like.
Yeah, so it is hard work as well, but I think luck plays a massive factor.
Yeah, definitely.
In all
because
this stuff.
Also, if like our skill sets hadn't complemented each other when we started working on Football Daily, like your knowledge of YouTube, your interest in stats, my knowledge of video editing, would it have worked as well?
And Danny Timms, like pumping the socials, like that did give us a good basis.
Danny Timms and it gave us a lot of coverage as well, because like it would be like million views on Facebook or whatever could offset the failed YouTube attempt. So yeah, shout out to Danny Timms. God bless his soul.
Pay homage to the original. God bless his soul. Not dead.
Not dead.
Not dead.
He's working for the Premier League.
Not dead. But I think part of it as well is that I think sometimes people think it's enough that it's their opinion and they will just give it, and that will be like enough to grow a following. But I do think part of it as well is like backing up your opinion, being accountable for your opinion. So don't just think, oh, well, I like this player, and so I'm going to talk about how great that player is, and I don't like that team, so I'm going to talk about how crap that team is. It's ask yourself why. Is that based on anything, or is it just like a bias? Like, how are you developing that argument? Constantly question yourself, because I think over the years, though, we always kind of get shit as if we genuinely think that we're like authorities who never get anything wrong. I do think that we've said, oh, I got that wrong. It's just that we can't go back to literally everything we ever got wrong, because there are thousands of predictions we made over the years. But that, I think, is something that people do need to do. Like, don't ask yourself, what am I bringing to this? Ask yourself, how am I making the argument, and why am I making the argument, and how am I translating my view for an audience, not just asserting what I believe.
Just to summarise that is, what value are you providing for your demographic desired audience? Like, who is this aimed at? We've definitely sort of sharpened our focus when it comes to packaging and like formats, haven't we?
That's taken so many years.
And developing an understanding of YouTube analytics, show length, and stuff like that, which is the icing on the cake in many regards. But yeah, I would just say
that's been a big change for us. I think is when back in the day we were so focused on YouTube. Now I would say YouTube is it's still there, but like it's on a par with
Yeah.
the numbers. Twitter for us, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, Instagram.
YouTube
like,
now,
YouTube is like
It's a dogfight for every single view, isn't
it's
it?
so much harder to get views on
No,
YouTube
yeah.
now compared to
Yeah.
other platforms.
YouTube used to fund the channel.
And now it's the other way around.
If we were launching now, I don't think we'd enjoy the same level of success, and that's not to deter anyone from launching a YouTube channel, but it's definitely
Yeah, I would probably not be launching a YouTube channel.
like a pointer is in what I think.
There's other
Even
platforms.
I think
you,
as an
for example, on
individual, you could
TikTok
do
have
it,
found like
I think there's
great
other-
success in vertical formats.
There's other platforms
Yeah.
with higher growth rates than
Sure,
YouTube.
sure.
I think like YouTube would be
The
my
organic
second
side of
category
YouTube
now.
is
the organic side of YouTube's dead.
Strugsville. Yeah.
All right, there we go. That was the end of Chris Hamill. You'll never see him again on this channel. So
R.I.P.
say goodbye in the comments below. Now he will be back for the occasional sporadic episode, no doubt. When
For a
he's
very
everything-
modest fee.
And just wait for a year's time when it's all gone wrong on the Athletic. He'll come crawling back. Okay. So,
Wow. But
yeah.
we wish you well. Congratulations.
Good luck, pal.
Thanks for your
Go on,
contribution.
walk off. Do like a stage.
We
exit.
need
I
like,
don't know.
can we get the orchestra to play
We'll
Chris
put like
Hamill?
an emotional track under it.
Is
Go
that
on.
going to be the thumbnail? Like
Yeah.
you two pointing to?
No, go on. We'll do like put an emotional track under this, Zach.
It's going to pull the camera over.
Make sure you add Benny Hill music to that. Bye.